Being a new player in OS kinda sucks. The friend who introduced the game to you is out there playing insane difficulties, while you're stuck getting C ranks on normals. You want to try playing multiplayer together, but the skill variance means either your friend gets bored on low diffs, or you suffer.
Okay, I don't think I'm ready for this level.
That suffering is actually fixed in Lazer thanks to freestyle.
The premise is that you can now select any difficulty in any rule set along with any mod you want in a multiplayer game. This is on by default because we think that it's probably the mode that most people want to set up a multiplayer room in, but of course you can turn it off. It's kind of like if you go to an arcade in Japan, it's kind of how every game works, and it makes it a lot easier for groups of different skill levels to play together. If most multiplayer rooms have this turned on, it's no longer like, oh, that room is 3 stars plus, I can't play that. It's more like I can join that room and then play a 2-star map. The fact that we can do freestyle at all is due to the 1 million score cap, because it does mean we can start to compare plays across multiple difficulties, which is to say you can feel like you're competing with each other because the scores are no longer like magnitudes out from each other.
With freestyle, is there no differentiator between like an SS on an easier difficulty versus a harder difficulty?
They have a different star rating on their results screen, but that's it.
Okay, then it's up to the player to determine the value of a score. I guess that works for something as casual as multiplayer.
Exactly. I don't think it's going to be used in tournaments, but we'll see.
Spectating is another staple of the new player experience. You watch your friend click circles faster than you can comprehend, your friend watches you miss every other note, all good times. And today's update makes spectating clearer with the newly added spectator list. Kinda sucks how it's like at the bottom, because then you can't see as many spectators as you could in stable.
I'm pretty sure the spectator list is also a skinnable element, so you should be able to move it.
Oh, perfect. The biggest crowd of new OS players will likely appear from the upcoming Lazer iOS release. While that's not public yet, a few more mobile-oriented changes made it into today's update, including Mania's most requested feature.
We have support to change screen rotation per screen in the game. That means that we can now automatically rotate gameplay to portrait mode when starting a Mania game session. Also, the UI scale in mobile has been completely reworked. So until now, when you started up a mobile release, the interface would be very small, and that's just because it was using like a desktop style UI scale algorithm. And now mobile has its own custom scale algorithm, which means that the game by default is going to be a more correct scale at 1.0 times UI scale.
If you're one of the people who complained about friend notifications being obnoxious, you've influenced change. They no longer stay in notification history, they won't flash the taskbar, they have less standout colors, plus they have a much more subtle sound effect.
And Nekodex explicitly said he engineered the sounds to not being annoying. Even if they play a lot, they shouldn't get to the point where you ask to have them disabled.
And finally, user cards in the dashboard have up-to-date statuses. These statuses are what makes Stable's dashboard feel alive, like a real community, so it's good to see Lazer actually getting there.
Mom? Yes, again. Mom?
I see this check mark button. What happens if I join your team?
You're welcome to try. Probably means that it shows up on your profile.
I see what you mean now. Okay, I'm gonna take it off.
So the concept of teams has been something we've wanted for a long time. Every fucking feature, nothing is new, right? All these feature requests are 10 years old. Anyway, so we're finally getting around to adding teams, and teams are basically a way you can add a bit more flair to your user. In the future, we're going to expand on the team system, so there will be team leaderboards, similar to friends leaderboards. You'll be able to see team members, and potentially team versus team way to compare yourself to other teams, along with features like chat channels. We don't want to make the system too complex. We're not trying to create a second Discord here, but giving people ability to group themselves together within the game, which hasn't been there until now. Team creation and management is all on the web, and teams will only be displayed in Lazer for now. I guess the other thing to mention is that the size of a team is limited by how many supporters are in the team, so as you have more supporters join the team, the max capacity for the team continues to increase.
A couple months ago, I made my first full map in Lazer's editor, which also means I whined about everything that annoyed me in the process, and some of these have been addressed in this update, like the precision movement tool. I used this in Stable all the time, but it was missing from Lazer until today. Now you can input an object's specific XY coordinates, or move objects relatively on the axes. When copying and pasting objects, I'd often do something like this. In Lazer, doing the same would put objects right on my timeline cursor, not snap to timeline ticks. Now copying and pasting in lazer snaps just like stable. Selecting an overlapped object in the timeline was really confusing before. Like, you'd expect clicking here to select this object, but yeah, as of this update, it works as expected. Lazer's editor also now has % progress in the bottom left, a functional distance snap. I'm not even going to try to explain what was wrong with this, just know that it works now. A way to access the map's web pages, and most importantly, you can now submit maps in Lazer.
We haven't really added new features yet. It's just basically getting it working. If anything goes wrong, we'll probably have to disable it server side. So just keep in mind that if you try and submit and it's not working, it probably means that something has gone wrong and we are very aware of it. When you submit a beatmap from Lazer, it's automatically converting it to a legacy format. It's the same as if you go to File, Export for compatibility use. We do that so it's still possible to play the beatmap unstable. It does mean that if you re-download the beatmap, it's going to potentially lose a bit of the Lazer specific metadata. So I would recommend keeping a local copy of your beatmaps regardless.
Slow-mo replay analysis is one of Lazer's coolest features, and this update makes it even more practical. Before today, hitting the left or right arrow key would skip 5 seconds no matter what. Now, this shortcut scales based on playback speed, so when you're watching a replay in slow motion, it'll only skip a tiny amount. The sudden death mod has a new setting to fail when missing a slider end, so it's a great day for people who like pain. Anyone using a skin with a long applause sound effect might have experienced something like this. Yeah, the applause sound overlaps with song select. Not good, so now leaving the result screen turns off the applause. If you use collections often, you'll be happy to know that you can now see how many maps are in each collection. Plus you can create collections straight from Lazer's playlists. Useful if you want to practice spotlight maps, or if you just like a playlist, I guess. There's also a thing on your profile now showing if you completed today's daily challenge. And I didn't realize how much Taiko was neglected until this change. Add Legacy Taiko Swell. Basically, if you were playing with the classic skin, you'd previously see the spinner from the triangle skin. Now you'll see the same spinner as in stable.
The only other thing in the whole changelog I would maybe want to mention is the asynchronous mouse